Hello?
This thing on?
Is it working?
All right, guys. Welcome back to the S3 Mag podcast. Today we are here with the founder of Grip Royal Wheels, Scott Allinder. So hang out. We're going to talk about wheels and automotive stuff.
Nuh-uh.
All right.
That's what
All
you
right, guys.
thought.
So before we jump into this, I just want to go. We've had a terrible habit of plugging this at the end of the podcast when no one's listening. So we're going to try it at the beginning this time. But we are S3 Magazine. We are a print and digital automotive media magazine, or just media company in general that do the YouTube thing, podcast, whatever. But check us out, www.s3mag.com. You can get a 2-year subscription to the magazine for $20 plus a free t-shirt. So you're not going to want to miss that. But anyways, like I said before, today we are here with Scott Allinder from Grip Royal. Mississippi, basically a Memphis-based company, right? But you're technically in Mississippi, aren't you?
Yeah, man, we are actually on the state line between Mississippi and Tennessee. Probably like 15 minutes outside of Memphis. It's just way easier to tell people Memphis, but we are based out of Mississippi, in the state of Mississippi. And both Mike and I, both employees, we've actually lived, we met in middle school, like 7th grade. Both of us lived in Biloxi, Mississippi, which was the most southeastern point of Mississippi, and now we live literally in the most northwestern point of Mississippi. So
that's funny.
We're trying
to
find our way out. Yeah, we're trying to find our way out.
Knocking on the walls.
This isn't like a situation where like it's like Memphis is a one time zone and then where you are is a different time zone, right? Like Atlanta and Alabama.
It's the same central time zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So Grip Royal, for those of you guys that don't know, it's not like wheels like Koenigs or Volks or anything like that. It's like aftermarket steering wheels. How long has Grip Royal been around?
So Grip Royal was formally founded in 2011, probably 2009, 2010, maybe late 2009, early 2010. I'm not quite sure. I actually started doing the work of the business. It was kind of just like trying to find people on, Facebook. That was a major source of communication, and like car clubs, pages. That was kind of before Instagram really blew up.
Wasn't Facebook great back in those days, man?
You
could make a post about a steering wheel. Like for us, we were doing the still hood shift knobs, and it was like, boom, you started selling them right then and there.
Yeah, and you actually talk to people, and they were kind of browsing just that feed of content that people are posting. It wasn't ads and selling area, marketplace. It wasn't video central. It wasn't all politics. But yeah, so it was how I definitely formed the business, working out of my dad's house. I had made some mistakes coming out of high school and ended up not going the route that I thought I would. And so I found myself trying to get jobs, man, and it was really hard. So I ended up kind of working the same, entry-level jobs, a lot of labor jobs, and started messing around with the steering wheels, really because I had a good friend who painted and wanted to see some other variations in steering wheels, and just kind of naturally saw the business angle of things. Like I was that kid in middle school. I was in a band. I was like, I'm making our album art. I'm making t-shirts. I was always kind of industrious, like just wanted to make stuff and sell it. I knew that was how I could make my own money because I wanted cooler things, so And really, when it came to the band, it was kind of getting your name out and stuff. So I kind of knew about that as well.
What was the name of the band?
Do what?
What was the name of the band?
It was called No Comment.
No comment.
Yeah.
Punk rock, I'm guessing?
Pop punk, yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
That's one thing that I love about Scott. If you don't follow Scott on Instagram, you should, especially if you're a music buff. One of my favorite things do is, multiple times a week you'll like screenshot an album or an album cover, and you'll post it, and you'll have like a description about the artist or a specific song or the album and things that it does. And I've always admired that about Scott, because our music taste is similar. So he'll post something and say something related to like a song, and I'm like, yes, that is exactly how I feel. I love you, Scott.
Scott is one of the very few homies that I can throw out metal memes to, and he'll understand.
Dude, that one you said earlier was yesterday or today. I can't even remember, and it was like derelict.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because he's one of the few homies that also blasts like roots rock reggae at the car events. You're a jack of all trades.
I enjoy all music. I'm not personally a fan of like country style music.
Well, that's good.
I can listen to it, but it's just like not my jam. It's for somebody. But I like classical music.
Dude, me too. Yep.
Like rap and hip hop. I like instrumental music, instrumental metal, even just like kind of weird, like what would you call it? Like, like where they're testing out different genres, kind of mashing stuff together.
Like experimental.
Yeah, experimental kind of stuff. And my wife likes a lot of indie, so I find myself listening. She likes more calm things, and I like sporadic things.
Yeah.
You posted I think you posted Anti-Flag yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah,
or something like that.
I've listened to them a lot through middle school and high school, and when you're like younger, you're just kind of like angsty, and you want to kind of just listen to stuff that's like forget the system, that kind of stuff. It was crazy.
Forget the system. I want to make a band called Forget the System.
It probably exists already. They formed and disbanded because the band was too formed.
They made it.
Too
and they had to quit.
All
right, so if you had to take your previous no comment band and compare it to like, how everybody's like, well, it's kind of a mix between this and this. Like, what would you? What was it?
No, I would just say it was like three kids in middle school playing pop punk. Like that's. Okay. It wasn't bad, but I mean, you wouldn't like wait to go see us or anything.
Fair enough.
There was a lot of parents in the crowd, so
okay.
But it was cool, being in middle school. First of all, my parents are super supportive, and my dad's like old hot rodder guy. My mom just super supportive with everything. She always kind of pushed me through sports, and once I kind of started phasing out of sports, once I was on like competitive teams, and they got really political with the parents. I'm sure everyone's experienced that. Sports are fun until the parents get involved and it becomes serious, and my kids got to play and that kind of stuff. So I switched over to music, and that was really fun. And then I got to go to these venues that were like bars. I'm like in these bars late at night. I'm hanging out with other guys that play music that are older. Just kind of always found myself being drawn to like older people that were interested in the same stuff as me, even though my dad and my mom were like super influential and willing to talk about stuff. I always liked that advice from the older group, just like car guys. Like when I was younger, like I wanted to hang around certain older car guys to learn what they knew already. And I'd say that's worked to my benefit. I had a lot of mentors growing up, that didn't even know they were my mentor.
I feel that. I feel that.
Cool.
So, okay, you might have already said this, but what did you play in No Comment?
I played guitar and vocals. I can't believe that we're talking about this band.
Let's just keep talking about. Let's just talk about.
Dude, I haven't talked about this band in years, and now you're like asking me specifics on it. It's so out of left field.
Interesting.
I want to see if we can find some old pictures. Are there any pictures online?
Oh yeah, I think the website's dead now. There used to be that streaming site called Pure Volume.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, and like that was actually what I think I built a few websites based off how they had their layout and all kinds of stuff. I was like doing web design and marketing my band, kind of like just trying to learn stuff, mess around.
Wait. To put a time frame on it, like what How old are you, and what year are we talking about? Like,
shoot, man. I mean, we're talking 7th, 8th, 9th, maybe 10th grade. We were still playing, but my parents and I moved for my between 10th and 11th grade that summer. So the band was over with. I didn't come up. I played with a few different guys whenever I moved up towards the Memphis area. But what was weird is when I moved from the Gulf Coast, and I can't believe we're still talking about music. We moved from the Gulf Coast up to here, and like all the kids my age were into like super heavy, choppy hardcore. And I was not into that at all. I did not like when bands screamed. I didn't like any of that kind of music, which is ironic because now I absolutely love that type of music.
I'm the same way.
But you grow and you change, and you develop new interests and taste. Your taste broadens.
Yeah.
So, and that's what's great because that
don't.
age, I can remember I used to go in Subway and order a plain roast beef sandwich, like bread, roast beef, bread, and I eat it dry and not put shit on it. And like now I'm like, what kind of idiot person was I? There's all these flavors that they'll shove on this sandwich for you for the same price,
Yeah,
when I was I think I was in the 9th or 10th grade, I had a good friend who I'm still friends with to this day. He was super into hardcore. Like, I think his favorite band at the time was For Today. I know you're a fan of For Today.
Yeah.
And so he would be like, dude, just like give it a shot. And I was into like, new metal stuff like Seether, Breaking Benjamin, 3 Days Grace, stuff like that. But he started.
Of course you were.
What shirt do you have on? Do you have a band t-shirt right now?
He's got a Seether shirt on right now.
I had a Red Hot Chili Pepper shirt on earlier, but
respect.
But so he's like, dude, you got to check this out. And I listened to it at first, and I was like, dude, this is absolute garbage. I was like, you can't understand a word any of these dudes are saying. He's like, listen, just play the whole album tonight. Just play the whole thing and tell me that it doesn't make you feel some type of way at the end of it. Sure enough, it did. I cannot believe that we're talking about metal right now. But but yeah, same way. And then senior year, I discovered reggae, and I thought it was cool, but everybody judged me for listening to it. So I kind of like pushed it off. Small town Alabama, you're not allowed to listen to reggae. And then I met this dreadheaded MFer, and he's like, dude, you just got to embrace it. And
I will have you know, I was poppy punk. I mean, the reggae roots were always there because it was like, the 90s. You had 311, you had Sublime, you had ska, all that, blew up.
A lot of those punk bands played that type of music too.
That's where it started. Yeah, and I was super into the poppy punky thing and even the punk thing. But once the bands quit putting numbers at the end of their name and started doing like just random phrases for band names, I was out. Like once the hair went from being spiked to like that crap.
Oh, the emo swoosh?
Yeah, I was out.
That's my senior picture of high school is like.
Yeah. See, I was obviously we all liked Blink and NoFX and Millencolin and MXPX and Newfound and all those were the dudes. In fact, I'll have you know, did you know this, Scott? I grew up with Ryan Key, the lead singer of Yellow Card.
What?
We were literally like best buds, like when I grew up in Jacksonville. And so second grade through 7th grade, we were like thick as thieves. And then I moved to Atlanta. But I remember, and this might not be accurate, but I remember specifically he was spending the night at my house. I had this rad-ass guitar because I was like super into playing guitar when I was young, like 8, 9, 10, whatever, because I came up on Skid Row. And so, woo! And so Ryan was playing with my guitar. It had flames on it. It was just kick-ass. And he was messing with it. And I was like, bro, let's rollerblade. And he was like, well, hang on. I'm trying to figure this out. And I was like, just borrow the damn guitar. You can borrow the guitar. You can borrow the amp. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And so he borrowed my guitar and went on to be a freaking rock star. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, did I tell you? I don't know if I said that or not. I know I said Ryan Key, the lead singer of Yellow Card. If that doesn't ring a bell, there's a place on Ocean Avenue.
Yeah.
That ding 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 ding
Yep.
ding 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 ding.
To this day,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it's
dude.
like the only song that when it hits, I stop what I'm doing. You know,
Really?
it's just yeah, I don't know
Well,
what it
it
is
was
about that song, but
what was
the beat, the lyrics, like what it represents, that song just moves you. I mean, or at least it does me
like
anyways.
okay. So I was with him for the whole ride, right? Like, so he was in a band
Yeah.
called Modern Amusement in high school. Then he went to college, and that was kind of a train wreck. Like, it just wasn't working out for him. And he was like, I got to go to the West Coast. You know, like, I just got to go pursue this. And so he went,
He
and I
had to
think he
go
was.
way, away, away.
Away from here.
Yeah, so he joined a band called Craig's Brother, and was living in San
Craig's brother.
and then and then ended up coming somehow reconnecting with Yellow Card, which was also a band in Jacksonville, but they were his buddy's band, and it was all right, like it was cool, but you could tell it just wasn't produced well. It was like a garage band, and then all of a sudden, boom, that Ocean Avenue came out, and I like heard it, before like the world heard it, before it blew up, and it was like, holy crap, dude, this is insane. Like,
Yeah,
this
you're
is
like, wait, this isn't you.
it's really good. I remember being on his bus at Warped Tour, and the album had just dropped, and I was like, yo, like, this is really good. Is what I remember thinking, And my friends back at UGA were like, dude, who are these guys? This is really good. Next thing you know, they're on freaking TRL and MTV. It was wild, dude.
Yeah.
It was wild. You'd be hearing it. You'd be walking, you'd hear it on the radio. It's like, you got to be freaking kidding me. It was awesome. It was
that
awesome.
Whole album for like pop punk music enthusiasts is great. Like every track on the album is great.
Yeah.
And when we went to last year, I think Lauren and I went to, and some other friends went to Warped Tour in Nashville. It was like that last year they were doing their tour.
Yeah, I went to the one in Atlanta.
He was there and played a acoustic single set of nothing but Yellow Card, Ocean Avenue songs.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I know
That
he was
pretty
doing
cool.
that.
Because
Yeah,
we
man.
didn't even know we didn't really know him by name. So like all of us being like, around 30, we were all very familiar with the album. So like we're just like going between stages, and the next thing we know, we're like, dude, isn't that the guy from Yellow Card? And next thing he's up there, he's like, hey, it's me from Yellow Card, about to do these songs. And we were like, no shit. Bonus.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, he's a car dude too, man. His dad, back in the day, this is like when I lived in Jacksonville, his dad managed a Ford dealership. So he always had Fords because he would get them through that. But then he's had some Golf R's and a real rad FJ. He's had some cool stuff, man. He's into that kind of crap. So
Yeah.
that's
it.
Yeah, man. And he's in Nashville now. He's not too far. That's where a lot of them dudes are living. They're all going to Nashville and producing and hanging out and helping people and stuff. So
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, we've had our little brief segment.
Our 30 minute
segment.
24 minutes in talking about music.
Music. But let's circle back around. Back to cars, back to Grip Royal. Okay, so you mentioned you had a hard time coming out of high school, finding your way. Your buddy is into painting and doing custom stuff, and you see an opportunity. How does that opportunity turn into steering wheels and Grip Royal?
Man, that was kind of it. I was working. Ended up at that point, like I said, worked a lot of jobs that were just labor intensive, and some guys here had a local shop that was doing like Japanese part importing. Yeah. Like before everything was available brand new. I mean, most production, China, Taiwan at this point, not Taiwan,
Malaysia.
Yeah. So yeah, Taiwan. Yeah. But back then, a lot of people, 10, 15 years ago, everyone was buying used stuff from Japan. And so these guys had a shop and were importing stuff from Japan. I started working for them. kind of was like, man, you guys are like charging a lot for these old busted used wheels, you know, like we could offer people a new wheel, and instead of being this company who just sells stuff, we could make a brand. And I kind of tried to do that with them. And it just didn't really take off anywhere. So I ended up buying the bulk of steering wheels that we had, which was like 10. And I bought those back from my employer, and at night I started Grip Royal. So I would go and work like a 8 or 9 hour shift, come home. I was living with my dad, you know, helping him around the house. I like to think that I was doing that, if I remember. Maybe, who knows? And I would stay up just late at night, you know, talking to people on Facebook and engaging people and really approaching people. Like I'd be like, you know, your car's dope. Hey, my name's Scott. I made this steering wheel company. You know, do you want to run a wheel? And people were pretty into it. You know, obviously the pricing was cheaper. My overhead was very low. You know, I was trying to grow a brand, not so much try and make money at that time. If I had to do one thing, if I had, you know, in retrospect, I would probably have tried to have money first and actually like form the company as a whole and then start. But I mean, I was just young, you know, and no resources and a lot of passion. So I'd stay up till like 2 or 3 a.m. My wife was like living with me in my bedroom at my dad's. At the time we were just dating. She was staying with me. So like we would work, and then we'd hang out for a little bit, have dinner and stuff. And then I would actually get in the bed with her and like wait till she fell asleep, and then get back out of the bed to get back on the computer and talk to people. Because, you know, at the same time, when you're trying to maintain a relationship and you're always working, even especially at a younger age, you know, because like, that, you know, she didn't have to want to marry me, you know, this guy's always working. And so, you know, I'd hang out with her for a little while, wait till she crashed, and get on the computer and talk to car dudes for 6 more hours. And I'm still doing that, it seems sometimes. But no, I mean, it's cool. It's just been like a snowball effect. And you could say it's like a constant struggle. It's been a constant growth. I don't really slow down. I'm very active. I have a hard time now because I'm so active and do so many different tasks with Grip Royal. I kind of have a hard time like even focusing while I'm working on people talking to me, because I'm doing like 3 things at once. And not to sound like, oh man, I'm so busy, but like literally I'm always doing multiple things. So when someone's talking to me while I'm trying to work, I'm kind of like, but I'm doing this over here. And, you know, it becomes mentally exhausting. And, it's just been that, man. I just been working a lot and growing. And I'm out of my dad's house. I got my own house now.
Hell yeah.
You know? And
no, it's interesting because I never really thought about that timeline. You were talking about when you got into it, JDM was definitely like the thing, right? Like there was nothing cooler than people buying old worn out shit from Japan, you know, old worn out seats or door panels or steering wheels and stuff like that. And that was the hot stuff. And then it's interesting because I can't remember when we met necessarily, but it's cool that it kind of started a transition from support JDM so that you're cool and you have all the boxes checked on your little Honda build or whatever to like support Scott because he's rad, you know, and it kind of it started changing. Like a lot of the mentality started to change to like, man, no, we're going to support our bros, the guys that we met at the show or
the show,
whatever, the guy I've been talking to on Facebook. That became kind of more important than the name brand even.
Yeah, and I think that really just is why you see a lot of small companies across all industries. Because now with social media, you can actually approach specific clientele that are interested in it without having to do major marketing that costs a lot, like traditional traditionally or traditional marketing. You know, like why would I pay $2,000 a month to have a billboard on the side of the interstate where maybe 20,000 people are going to pass it, but only 200 of them are even aftermarket automotive enthusiasts. You know, I don't have $2,000. So marketing directly to a specific clientele much easier and more obtainable. With a lot less overhead. You know, you don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to have a lot of employees. You really don't even have to have a lot of knowledge. You just have to have a lot of time and a plan, you know? Which now I think we're kind of seeing a point, since I've been doing it for so long, you're seeing almost like a over dilution of small companies popping up. And you see a lot of them that start and fail more regularly. Like the cycle of businesses and the business life is shorter, because not only is it cheaper and easier, so you're seeing more people attempt and maybe not meet one or two criterias and fail, but then also trends are shifting faster, much faster.
Stuff catches, but it burns so hot that it can't burn long. You know what I mean? Like these brands are like, all of a sudden you're like, where did these guys come from? Holy crap, they're everywhere. And 2 years later, you're like, dude, I hadn't heard about them in a minute, like, and they're just gone. But there are. I mean, I don't know. To back it up, it's funny because now I'm remembering like circa 2010 and 11. I remember like S3 Magazine was really battling the JDM whatever dominancy, you know, that was going through. And it was a lot of that same thing. It was like, yo, these guys, these spoons or whatever it is, like, they don't support American magazines. They don't care about that. Like, they are not at the car events. Like, and for us, the big thing was they don't support American magazines. We're putting Honda after Honda after Honda, and they don't even know or care if you exist. You know, meanwhile, you're not supporting the American scene. And that was something that I was always like, yo, Honda tuning screwed up in this way. Like, this is not going to pan out. Like, you cannot leg hump those 25-year-old wheels from overseas forever, you know, while totally ignoring the American. While ignoring anything that comes from America, any American tuner brand or whatever, like it just wasn't working. So
it's like it wasn't uplifting our own aftermarket.
It wasn't.
Industry.
It was really. It's funny because when it first started happening, it was really refreshing, right? Because it was something new to do to these Hondas and Nissans and stuff that it was pulling all the big gaudy wings off the car and it was going JDM and that was cool. But yeah, pretty soon it was like, wait, we're totally turning our back on our own friends that work in this industry, you know, and they're giving us ad dollars, for example, and we're saying, that's not cool. That stuff from over there in Japan's cool, you know. So I don't know what the point of that is, other than I remember that time period when you started talking about it, and I do, you know, I mean, you support somebody like Grip Royal, for example, you're at, I don't know, Import Alliance or Drift Day, whatever it is, or you run ads in S3 Magazine, you know, like that's the teamwork makes the dream work mentality. That's what makes the aftermarket so much fun to be a part of. You know what I mean? Like when it's all just about elitist brands and stuff like that, it might seem cool for a minute, but like it's just it's a quick sizzle. It's like when they bring your fajitas out and it sizzles for a second, and then you're like, this sucks. It's dry. You know, like. So anyway, I don't know if that was part of it. Is people were wanting to support Scott, the dude running around with the drinks outside of La Quinta.
I don't think that's why. I think the reason Grip Royal really blew up is because of the custom paint work, which like once again I really have to owe to my friend Chris. He taught me how to paint. He's the one that wanted to start painting, and he's much smarter than I am, and he was like, no, I do not want to do this for the rest of my life. So so he was like, you enjoy it and keep it up. And
how in the world can you do all that custom painting?
I'm sorry,
I was just saying, how in the world can you do all that custom painting and keep up with it? You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, dude, I've got a stack right now. I've got like tomorrow I'll paint, and I have like 35 wheels that I'm going to be working on, and I'll basically address all 35 wheels. Some of them will be like start and finish work. Some of them will be like their second session in paint because they've gotten like they started with like a base color, and I did some etching with the second color inlay, something along those lines. And some of them will just be like the first step of a three-step painting process. So I try to paint at least one day a week now. We used to have more hands on deck. I was able to stay at the shop more, but now I'm back painting. I was initially the painter, and now I'm back at it. And my skill level with the spraying is just gone through the roof compared to how we were years ago. It's so cool. I've learned a lot. My equipment is better. My facility is cleaner and better. So like doing 35 wheels in one day is not like, I guess you could be just listening to this and be like, man, how come they take 4 weeks to do my wheel then? Well, why don't you, there's 5 days in a work week. Why don't you, keep it going? But
yeah. But
that's
okay, so
just not the case. I can't do paint every day either. So
how does somebody order? Like, I mean, I've ordered a few, but I know you, so I just call you. And like, if somebody does not know you, how do they describe what they want? Like, how does this go? Do they have to call you, or is there a way they can do it?
No,
like,
they
you know what I mean? Like, I called you with that Nissan livery wheel. And I was like, yo, I just want like the blue, the white, the red of the old Datsuns. And you're like, I got you, man. I'll do something cool. I'm like, I trust you. But like, if somebody doesn't know you, like, how does that process go down?
So we don't have a phone number, and we never have.
That's smart.
Yeah.
You're like, we make it very tricky.
Well, no, because it makes it very manageable, actually. The problem with this, the only problem that I have with this is that I got a super good deal on our email server, like when I started the company, right? So I paid for like 10 years with GoDaddy, and I got basically grandfathered in on this super cheap email server for 10 years. Well, now technology has continued to progress, and I think our email servers are kind of like outdated. So when we send emails, and this is the only problem with only email customer service, I think some of our emails on some people go to their spam box. And so then they don't think that they got a response from us or anything. But otherwise, doing only emails allows us to, because we're the guys who actually do the hands-on work and the order fulfillment and the customer service, and we also sometimes get to work on cars and go to events and stuff. This allows us to manage all the customer service for X amount of hours, and we know, we're able to reread people's questions. We're able to answer how we want to answer. We're able to reference that conversation later. Like if I'm doing, like you just said, if you want to do some crazy custom work, we're going to have it all on email, the whole conversation. So if I'm mid-process on the project and I have any questions, I can go back and visually reference that document. I have documentation of what the customer said. Sometimes people don't like to hear that whenever they say they didn't want that.
Right.
You said a quote.
Yeah. I didn't want that. Well, it's right here. So that also kind of helps us as far as like in a defensive position, to say, no, guy, you specifically said you wanted, 3 T's in the word that,
Guy Haney?
Guy?
Our designer?
So
come on, guy.
But to be honest, no. I mean, we really don't have many issues. Everything's through email. Everything's on the website. People basically, we have like a questionnaire. So if you really did want something custom, you basically do this drop-down box questionnaire kind of thing, and then Mike, the only other person at Grip Royal, is the person who answers emails every weekday. And he basically goes back and forth with the customer and gets it set up, and he'll set it up, and then I will build their order. So like essentially on all custom orders, both the conversation, the invoicing, the production, and the final like inspection and processing goes back and forth between Mike and I.
Okay.
So the two people at Grip Royal who talk to you also build it, also did it, also ship it, and then we never do anything where only one of us sees it.
Right.
Right.
Because, just we're human too. And sometimes you make mix-ups, sometimes you make errors. Like I painted a wheel for a customer like 2 weeks ago and just somehow put it on my list, like my NQ production list. I put it down as the wrong color spokes. So I made it like how I put it on record. And then when we sent it to her, she was like, what the heck? And we pull everything up and we're like, oh yeah, you're right. Like
crap.
pay to have it brought back, and now I'm doing the job again. So, but that's okay because that's not her fault, and we know that. Like we have everything on record. So, and we ended up. I'm like, at this point, now I have an inventory wheel. So there's no love lost. We lost money returning her shipment to us basically, but that's our fault. So
yeah, crap happens, man.
Yeah, and that's it too. Being such a small company, that allows us also to kind of like either we know that you're full of shit, or we messed up, or it was just an error. Like sometimes there's stuff gets lost, and we insure everything. It's kind of like we're just trying to make sure us and the customer are covered, because whether the customer is right or not, like. We don't want to come out of pocket for it. But we do have to resolve the issue, assuming that it is ours. So it's pretty controllable. I think people kind of think the brand has a larger presence than Mike and I. And Wooly, you kind of hit on this earlier. Like back in the day, it was a new, fresh thing. Well, I think people were scooped up Grip Royals because one, I was talking to them at 1 a.m. on the internet, like just straight up shooting the shit because I wasn't married, didn't have a house to take care of. I had a lot less responsibility, but they were scooping it up because I was contacting them directly, or we were just doing fresh new stuff, man. Didn't I do a neon orange wheel for you like 10 years ago or something?
A neon yellow wheel for Greg. You did the wood grain. Well, you did a bunch of wood grain steel hoods, which I still rock in the CRX.
Yeah, and like that was all new, man. Like the only wheels that we had ever seen painted were basically like flip-flop chameleon wheels from this smaller company in Japan. And initially that's where I was like highly influenced. Which is odd for art. I feel like you should be influenced from other areas, like necessarily. So like me as a steering wheel company, I don't really want to pull inspiration from another steering wheel company.
Right.
But I do like seeing colors and color plans or layouts on other things and trying to apply them to steering wheels. Of course, it's like trying to reinvent the wheel. Like it's round, pretty basic. You can't get too far from what everything already looks like. There's a reason things look that way. But yeah, like just going to shows, going to Import Alliance and having like this array of crazy colors, the neon yellow, the neon orange, all those neon colors. Nobody had steering wheels like that. Like nobody did that. And now they're all over the place. I don't even spray those colors anymore because the paint, the pigment of those neon colors fade very easily.
Do they?
V exposure. So yes, it's a problematic color. But
interesting.
But that was what really set us off. It was just simply being different and not being produced by other companies. It's just fresh. It's totally new. So now I think what really separates us is the ability to really get custom with that work. Instead of me just spraying single color wheels, we're doing fades. We do different flakes. We do etching in the wheel, all of that stuff. And there are people in the industry catching up to us, doing different stuff than us, some of the same stuff as us. But now at this point, the brand has really grown. And that's why people don't really know myself or Mike as much as they know Grip Royal. because whenever I was running this company, when I started it, I didn't want people to be like, hey, this must just be one kid hanging out at his dad's house trying to sell stuff, you know? Yeah. I wanted it to be a brand. Well, now the brand is established and people, I'm okay with people knowing that it's, you know, Mike and I busting our ass to do this stuff. Like, you know, the guy you emailed all day, don't email in 5 times being like, thinking you're getting another customer service rep.
Right.
You're just wasting Mike's time more so he can't actually make shift knobs, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think 10 years ago, that was the general consensus is you thought companies were bigger than one person. And I think, you know, now that social media has really kind of played out more and stuff, I mean, you look at like you and Frank Downstar, like,
yeah,
you are Grip Royal, you know, like Frank is Downstar, like you can't know one without the other, really. I mean, even S3, you think about it. I mean, 10 years ago, you thought of a magazine as this big old office.
Oh, yeah.
People walk in and there's a big staff running around and all that. Like S3 is like us.
Yeah,
you know?
Dude,
and it's like we all work from home. We all just talk to each other and get it done.
That's what I thought when I first tried to get an internship.
I did.
Oh yeah, like we get that same thing.
He's like, "Hey, what's up? Yeah, sure, just join us at the booth, whatever."
yeah, we get that all the time. Oh well, somebody at this email
thought you were going to work for a real publishing group.
Yeah, we used to actually
be cool because you have control over it. You know, you guys, what you do at that company is actually impacts and makes a difference day by day at that company. If you guys just get lazy and don't do work for a couple weeks, like, you're going to suffer from it.
Yeah.
Which I think keeps things kind of fresh and fun. It can be overwhelming at times, but, you know, and it's not always easy. And it definitely doesn't make a lot of money, you know? People are probably like, man, you got a magazine, you got money. Bucks. You know?
I think the days of magazine publishers flying around on private jets with cigars are probably over.
Yeah.
You're just lucky to fly Southwest half the time, you know? Like,
you guys fly places?
But, no, yeah, whatever. It's cooler this way. You know what I mean? It is cool when, like, everybody has a real say in what's going on. And it's cool. You know, one thing I never understood about the other mags when there were other mags was, like, they were so plotted so far out, you know, like advertisers would talk to us and they were like, so you think we can get this in by like November? And we're like, yeah, like next issue, like I'm putting it in the computer right now. It's going in. Like, oh, really?
That's 2 issues away in November.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just the way the world's going. When we first bought S3 magazine, we had an office in you know, a little downtown suburb of Atlanta. And then we moved up and we had a loft. We went from like the basement to like the you know, the loft. And then basically I moved further out to the country. The roof blew off this old loft that we had. And it was like, well, because we were renting it. We're like, I think this is our cue. We're out. And then it was like, well, we'll just work from home for a while. And then it was like, hey, this is actually working, man. Like,
yeah.
And you'd save a boatload, you know, between an office and they screw you on all the office phone lines and all of that. And it would eat you alive, man.
Yeah.
But
and you felt like you needed that because when you bought the magazine, that's probably the kind of environment that
cubicles
are.
Yeah, what you were accustomed to. You're like, we're not gonna sit in cubicles, but we need an office.
Yeah.
To look legit. You know?
That's what we had, man. Our first office, it was a crap hole, but like it was this basement. And it was like 5,000 or 6,000 square feet, way more than we needed. And we went in there and, oh, dude, and it was concrete floors and it was all open. So there was like 3 desks, and then we all had our little bicycles, and all we did was ride around bikes through the basement. Like we would set up these elaborate courses with whatever we had, you know, to like make slaloms and stuff. And we just play around. We painted all the walls neon green and neon orange or something. And it was awesome. It was fun. We got nothing done. You know, like I would get there, and this was back, I don't know if you even know Cody, but like Cody's still my buddy, but like,
yeah, I know Cody.
He was a designer in the early days, also a music guy, coincidentally. But yeah, he would roll in at like 11, and then we go to lunch at noon, and then we come back like 1:30 or 2 and ride our bikes. You know, like it was just
Yeah,
was fun.
and you're like, yeah, I'm at work. Don't call
yeah.
right now.
Yeah, we're working. You need to hit up this email, the store at s3mag.com, and then we
Yeah.
just log into that one.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, I'm just trying to keep my emails organized. I'm gonna need you to adhere to our pattern.
Yeah, man.
But no, that's
whatever.
funny because about the time that I formed Grip Royal was when I already knew about S3 Mag. I knew you guys were running it, and like I said, I was working for another shop. I was pumped when I met you guys because I bought my first issue at like a FD round, I think, because I never made it to Import Alliance until I started Grip Royal.
Okay.
And I think I met you guys at an FD round in Atlanta, and I walked up. It may have been a Team Rowdy event or like a Southeast Drift event, like one of the Turner Field events. That must have been it because I was like super into you guys. I was like going out there with older guys, like helping. I wasn't driving, and we were going. I was like, I'm not driving to Atlanta. I'm
right.
17, or 20 or whatever it was. And I remember going out there and paying $5 and writing my name down on this list, this piece of paper, and got like a lifetime subscription for $5.
Yes, I got one of those.
You sons of bitches are bankrupting us with that now.
Yep. And whose idea was that, Wooly? That sounds like one of your ideas.
Yeah, nobody ever accused me of being good at business.
You were like, what, man? People love this magazine. $5. We'll have them coming back forever.
What? It's like that.
Yeah, that's because you said it was a lifetime subscription.
It's like that starving pop punk band, though. You just want people to read it. Like, that is our biggest struggle right now, if we're being real, is like, I believe in like what we write. I believe that it kind of unifies the culture in a lot of ways. Like, we're not just talking about cars. We're talking about whatever, building character and motivation and trying to relate to people. I especially get off when I can, because I'm 40 now. I'm also a psych major. A lot of people don't know that. So when I can talk to kids that are 25 or 30 and inspire them to kind of follow their passions, I love that. So that's what the magazine's about a lot of times. And so it's just like, dude, I want you guys to read this, and let's face it, in 2020, every other media you're ever going to get is free. We're competing with free. How can you print a magazine and send it to however many thousand people's house and compete with free? You can't. We're screwed. Our business plan is effed. I mean, the only reason we're still in it is because people just like it.
Yeah,
I know. And
it's
people support the
passion driven from you guys, but also passion from your supporters.
Yeah.
And then with that being said, and it's kind of weird, like you just said, you're trying to shed some light and kind of guide people that are younger than you that are interested in these things as well. And with a magazine, that's kind of what's weird is some of these younger generations, they didn't hang out in the bookstore in the mall while their mom was shopping. They
don't know.
I flipped through magazines when I was a kid, and my mom let me buy magazines. I carried magazines with me all the time. And they're still out there. They're in stores, but you don't see people going to get them because, like you just said, everybody's on their phone. It's free. Really, it's just the ease of accessibility with the phone. I find myself glued to it far too much.
I try not to.
But a magazine's cool. That's what you pay for. You get to walk away with a book,
tangible.
Yeah,
and
it's tangible.
It's super intimate. It's a lot like music. When it hits you. People, we might not reach 10 million people like Donut does. You know what I mean? But a lot of times when we do connect with somebody, it's like, yo, you are talking straight freaking to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's, and that's like that's my definition of success, because like, I mean, it's the same thing with music. Like, people get passionate about a band because they're like, yo, that guy just like literally talked right into my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you share a spirit, and like when I was in college, I struggled a lot. I went to University of Georgia, right? And so a lot of my friends were like, yo, I can't wait to freaking get out of here and go make some money. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? I just want to make money, man. Like I want to sell something, or I'll take this guy's money and then move it here and I'll make money. And I'm like, that's not a thing though. Like I still don't know what a lot of my college friends freaking really do. I don't like it's that adult stuff that I just like, okay, so it's investments and you take people's money, bullshit them for a while, and then you make money in the middle. Right. I get it. But like, so I was struggling with that because that was not me, and so you have your friends that are like, yo, like, you're going to really just mess with cars your whole life? You got your parents. Well, I mean, my parents are awesome, but you know what I mean? You get that like adult criticism of like, yeah, so like, I mean, the car thing is it's cool for now while you're young, but like, when are you going to like grow up, And that's where Still Hood came from. Still Hood was that's when we're going to grow up, like that's kind of what it was about. But like, so I was struggling with that. It's like the whole damn world is telling you to kind of stop following your heart and your passion, and you better start growing up. So S3's there to tell you, nah, you know what I mean? Like, nah, you're good, man. You'll be all right, So I don't know. That's whatever.
That's funny you say that. That's where I mean, the first issue that I got, I was about like that 20 years old, like, all right, it's time to get your shit together time. I read one of the editorials. It was something about like cowboys or something. It was in the James F. and Dean issue. It was just like you're saying, like, you're talking to me. I mean, it's the difference between hearing, your friend's band at a bar and them inviting them to play live. It's that intimate connection. I mean, and that was my age. That's the age where I needed to hear that, because if not, I mean, I started off in the medical field. I was an EMT. I wanted to continue on in the medical field. Then I kind of just like sat a little bit, worked at the YMCA, and I wasn't exactly sure where it was going to go. And then I was like, listen, I know what I love to do. Just do it. And if you do it enough, somebody will pay you.
Yeah, or you'll network enough to the point where, like you said, someone will pay you, or you'll just like become known for it and you have multiple clients, or if you just keep following your passion, you're eventually going to network enough that if you actively are following your passion, I believe, like not
some people like half.
Yeah, you can't be half-assing it. You can't be upset every time there's a setback. Like, it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you time. It's sadly going to cost you relationships. Some of your friends are going to agree with you. Some of your friends are going to disagree with you. Your time's limited. People will want your time and not get it. And, there's just a lot of complications.
Yeah.
And you have to be in pursuit of that. You have to have a goal.
I'm interested in, so when you started getting into this, how long until it really picked up? Like, how long were you doing it? Just like, I'm going to see how it works out, until it like finally was like, oh, this shit is working.
Oh yeah. So I did Grip Royal for like, I think 1 year while I worked at that shop. And then kind of, I saw the potential in the company. So I quit my day job and ended up going full time with Grip Royal while living at my dad's house. And the going was great right out the gate because, like I said before, we like basically had no competition. Very fresh ideas, very accessible, with communication. But as we grew, and I actually had to move out of my dad's, and I had to get my own bills and support my own life. And I realized then, like, my prices are too cheap. I need just everything had to grow. And I ended up getting employees. I had to start paying rent. And then, you have to pay state taxes. You have to pay city taxes. You have to pay property taxes. Man, it's like, it's never ending. I'm still learning stuff. And to be quite honest, financially, it's all been uphill. Like, I'm still 11 years in, and I don't really take like personal vacations. I'm seeing the light at the end of that tunnel.
Right.
I'm kind of like at a cresting point, I think. And surprisingly, this year with COVID hitting, which is I'm so grateful for, because I know a lot of businesses struggled, but we actually really did well because one, people had time to place their orders, they had money, and obviously we're like mostly online. North Mississippi, not very active for the import industry. We don't have a lot of walk-ins. There's really no benefit to walking in except seeing the shop.
Yeah.
But like we really flourished during this time because we weren't traveling like we normally would all through spring and summer. I would be on the road like every other weekend or every weekend, 3 or 4 back to back. I'm only home for 3 days. With that, once again, I have a family that I'm supposed to see from time to time, and responsibilities outside of work. But even then, I'm coming home, I have to paint, or I have to make sure whoever's painting is painting. It's just very overwhelming, and we can never really get ahead. And really up until this point where, what I say 2011 is the real formation of the company Grip Royal. So I'm 9 years in, and just now kind of, especially after this era where I've spent 3 months only producing stuff with no traveling, finally starting to, kind of see the light of the tunnel on some of my debts. Every time I try and I feel like we'd be successful, I'd learn about a new tax I had to pay.
Okay.
Or I learned that we needed a bigger location and I needed more storage capabilities. I mean, there's just always something to structuralizing the business. And so every time I thought we're doing great, and I'm no business guy, I'm no finance guy. So I'm just a car dude who wants to blow money on car parts. Like every time you put it in my hand, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to buy that thing that I saw.
Cash, but all you're seeing is like, I could buy this turbo, I can get these wheels, I can put an LS in Volkswagen.
And then it's crazy because, you'll be like, oh, I want to buy all these parts. And then I'll just get them and be like, well, I can't work on my car now because I have to work on steering wheels. Okay. But I'm still like that. Like 10 years later, I'm still just buying car parts. Like it's what I love to do. So we do well. I get all excited. We're doing great. And then some financial burden would hit. And so long story short, it's been a long time coming, but 9-10 years in, and I'm kind of starting to see some true stability, like my wife and I, we bought our first house. We kind of went big. We're in North Mississippi. So let's just say land is cheap compared to a lot of areas. And here we're able to get a good sized house, land's cheap, building's cheap. So we went ahead, we were like, let's do it right. Everything in my life is a project, my business, my cars, now the property that I live on. And so I didn't want my house to be a fixer-upper.
Right.
So even when we bought our house, when we closed on it, which is a pretty long process if you've never bought a house, and people are like, oh, buying a house can be scary. The year I bought my house and closed on it, and we had to get out of our rental property at the time, was the scariest, shittiest year of my life, it seemed, because we were like tanking financially. A lot of other companies were starting to do the things that we were doing. So we're seeing like delusion in the industry just for the first time, really. I had more guys on staff that I wasn't able to properly manage, and we weren't seeing like the productivity we weren't seeing the return off of all of our expenses and our input time. So, and at the same time, I'm like closing on a house with my wife. So we were freaking out, and that's taken a long time. It's taken a lot of reform. That era where I was trying to continue with Grip Royal, but also grow my home life, and some stability at my house, have a house and working towards something with my family. It really pushed me to do some decisions, and I had to cut some staff. I had to stop some of my own pleasantries. I had to really knuckle down. I thought I was working as hard then as I did on the first year or two, and I found myself kind of complacent, and yeah, it's always a struggle. You gotta constantly adapt. There's, I think it's an Amir song, and he says something along the lines of like, once you've got the game all figured out, that's when they changed it. Or they'll change the game as soon as you figure it out, something along those lines. So, which, just like the music industry, I think that was in the song, he's kind of implying, like handing out, he's like talking about handing out flyers in the cold for a show, because you don't do that now. You don't, if you're a band, you don't go print paper flyers and go hand them out on the street. Right. That's a struggle that bands today will not really have to, go through. But that's just it. Bands who did before, they had to go through that struggle, but it doesn't matter. You have to adapt and change. You have to adapt with time and technology, and same thing for us, is constant adaptation and learning while I'm going. I'm just a car dude, Yeah. And now I know a little bit about business. I know a little bit about marketing. I know about graphics design. I know about laser etching. I know about anodizing, acrylic casting, like so many different things. Yeah. Just because when I hit one of those hurdles, I didn't wait, or wait for someone else to figure it out. Or even, when I was kind of complacent and we had to make a lot of changes, that was what I had to do, was sit back and say, you know what? Like, no one's going to do it for you, man. Like, either you're going to watch this ship sink, or you thought you were working hard. Well, I guess now you work twice as hard. Like, so, and it's starting to come around. So anyone who's like, oh man, having a company is easy, it's not. And I had someone that was one of my, at the time, mentors, someone who's influenced me, that was a older enthusiast that I worked for 15 years ago. He owned a business that I worked, a labor position at. And I remember him telling me, you think you want to run your own business, but it's not all what everybody thinks. And that was so true. Yeah. 100%. Props to any small business owner, or any small business where everyone who works is truly involved. Yeah. Your input affects the business on a daily, and people don't recognize that. Even if you're not the owner, if you're an employee, you guys are working towards something that has a lot of passion behind it, and you'll get a lot of passion out of it, but it's going to take as equally as much work as your passion is, which is not fun. The passion's the fun part. Yeah. The labor and the thought process, the mental and physical endurance is the hard part, and not everybody is willing to do all of that at the same time. So, and it gets hard. You kind of lose passion the more it becomes work. Yeah. So that's a hard struggle too. I had my little era too, where I was like, man, fuck car guys. Yeah. Like just straight up. Like I was just like, man, everybody who hits us up asks the same questions. I'm just fucking sick of it. And that was for me to figure out, and that's, I'm sure every person who's building a business and learning as they're going is, you just have to adapt and change. So, yeah.
Well, like my My dad always taught me you got to celebrate the victories. You know what I mean? Like you literally have to step back and just find them because sometimes it's not obvious. You know what I mean? You have to kind of like review. You know who's really good at that is Noah from Funk Fashion. Like
He is,
he's
yes.
very good at recognizing his own achievements, and he posts them. I think more for him than for anybody else to like.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're
that.
talking about.
Yeah, but like, I mean, dude, S3 has been a struggle since day one. And I got to see if I can dig it up because I made a business plan, man. Like when we bought S3, I had a business plan. The first issue, we were going to sell this much. The second, we were going to raise it by 25%. The third, another 25. We were going to make millions by like year 2. We were on the way, and it just
pretty ambitious plan, it sounds like.
It doesn't freaking happen like that. You know what I mean? And you're constantly cussing and you're frustrated. And, we were battling the big media giants, the Prime Medias and the Super Streets and all those guys. The one by one, they start falling. Well, it doesn't help. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
Yeah.
Now you're battling the internet. You're battling the Hoonigans or the donuts. And we love those guys. Like it's not a battle. But you know what I mean? It's always.
But you have to compete for attention.
We have always been the underdog, but then you back up and you start looking at the victories and you're like, I love being the underdog. Like I don't want to be the top dog. Like that's not fun. Like I love being
because they grow big and they lose the passion because they have a huge crew and they have people who are like, that's not my job.
The best flavors are the one you get from home.
Well, I mean, it's the same with S3 and Grip Royal. It's the ride. Like if you go back and you look at the last decade, you're like, hell yeah, I'm exactly where I want to be. Maybe I don't have a freaking, boat in my 10-car garage or something like that. But I also, most of these guys out here, have to put up with 5 days of their life every week just so they can have 2 that they enjoy. Like that's not, don't live for the freaking weekend. You know what I mean? Like,
that's working to retire.
I would rather at the end of my run be sitting there as a little old man with dreads and a Hawaiian shirt at some SEMA thing and be like, well, hell, like it's been a hell of a run. We've had a good life. Every little facet of success has been awesome. Maybe we're not millionaires, but hey, like.
Yeah, as long as you're doing all right,
Job enjoyment counts for a lot to me. You know what I mean? Like. So I don't know. I think I've said it on some podcast before, but I've come to the conclusion that I would much, much, much rather drive my 25-year-old Pathfinder or little VTEC'd out Civic to the mountain bike park every day than sit in traffic in some stupid ass new luxury crossover. Like that's not what I want to do.
Yeah, it's like I don't have the freedom of really doing like you would think. Being like the business owner, you can take off whenever you want. You can do whatever you want. No, like I'm definitely putting in those 5 days a week to live for the weekend, but my days aren't separated like that. I like to work and I like to fulfill the duty for my clients and to be quite honest, as active as I'm saying I am and as much as I have to do physically and mentally at this point, if I wasn't doing this shit, dude, I would not be in the what little health I have. Like, this stuff keeps me young. It keeps me moving, and I want to move. I don't. It's not like a burden. And I rarely wake up and say I don't want to go to work. I'm generally in early, stay late, unless there's something exciting going on. So, but that's what we say. It's. I don't wake up and dread going to work. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
That is a life-changing daily occurrence that like most people don't realize that they hate getting up and going to work, And I think some people make it into their like later adult years before they finally realize that and start making changes.
Yeah.
So as long as I can
sometimes it's too late at that point. Sometimes it's too late when people realize that they're working at the wrong place or they're living for the wrong reasons. I mean, it's too late to make that change. And there's no amount of money that could, make me wake up and hate my job. I don't care what the salary is. If I got to deal with that every day, that's not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I ran into a situation.
Go ahead. I was going to say, that's like, dang it, that always happens. It always happens.
You got it.
Well, I was just going to say, crap, now I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say, that's the thing, when we're talking to those 25-year-old kids that are at the crossroads of life, like what am I going to hold on to? What am I going to stand for? That's the thing. You can F up when you're 25 and like, you're like a cat. You'll fall on your feet. You can always go get another job real quick. But like, as you get older and older, it gets harder to break the chains, you know what I mean? And change. Like if you're 40, you got 15, 20 years of like career, that like habit you've built up, That's when these people become I can't do that. And I got to do this. It's like, nah, start young. Like if you chase your dreams young, you develop habits. So like you won't let yourself fail. I mean, even if S3 tanked right now, it only tanks when you quit. And I'm just not going to quit. And if somebody just said no more, I'm still going to find something else rad to do because that's what I'm conditioned to do now. I'm not ever going to be like, I better cut my hair and buy a suit and make a resume and go sell insurance or something. No, that's not, like I can't. I'm too screwed. Like I am in it now. You know what I mean? Like I think
that's why some people tap their faces because they're like, there's no going back now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like my dad said, burn the ships. You gotta, it's whatever, look it up. I don't remember the details, but basically a long, long time ago, there was like a general and they sailed across the sea, right? And they got someplace and they were going to conquer it. They were going to like overtake the enemy. And so when they got there, he burned all the ships and said, we're here now.
I guess we're staying here.
Yeah. You better not lose. Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, what the hell were you going to say, Hunter?
I was just going to say, a few years ago, I ran into a similar issue. I had just kind of got on board as an intern with S3. I was in college and I was working a construction job that I had to be there. Like, I don't remember, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And, I was there 4 or 5 hours, then I would leave and go to class. And I was absolutely miserable. I made good money. Like I made really good money as like a 18, 19-year-old, whatever. I think I was 19. But like I was miserable. Like I didn't want to get up. By the time that I had gotten home, you work in the heat, then you go to class. And so you're physically exhausted. Then you become mentally exhausted from class. So you'd come home and then I would just be like, I don't want to work on my car. I don't want to do anything. I just want to go to sleep. Right. So I'd come home exhausted and then I would sleep and then it'd be 10 o'clock. And I'm like, what am I doing? Where am I going? And then I had this scary moment where I realized, you hear about guys, like I've even heard my dad say this before. He's like, wow, like the past 20 years have really flown by. And that kind of stuck with me. Like, why did it fly by? Why was it flying? Why were these 20 years flying by faster than, your childhood or something? And then in the morning, I remember this vividly. I woke up, I hadn't done anything all day but work, class, and then went to sleep. And it clicked. I was like, the reason that they fly by is you get into a cycle where every single day is the same.
Yeah.
It's the same. So you can't distinguish one day from the other because they're all the same. And before you realize it, 20 years like passed by because like it snuck on me that I had been working this construction job for a year and it felt like, a couple of months. And it scared me. And, but I think I was talking to my ex at the time and I was like, something's not right, but I make too good of money to quit right now. And she was like, who fucking cares? Like,
well, see, that's where when you get older, like Wooly was saying, when you get older and Wooly, I forgot that you're 40, bro. You keep using 25 and saying kid. Most people at 25 at this point probably have some direction as to where they're going, some thoughts into it. The difference in the variation of people at 25 and younger would apply to what you're saying, Hunter, is you you're working and the days are just flying by. But when you get stuck in a position like that and you have a kid, and then you have, let's say, education debt, and then your spouse has education debt, and then you have rent, and you're feeding more mouths than your own.
That
like
piles up quick.
that's when people are like,
Yeah.
I'm stuck because I have to
you're
have this
in it.
good money. You know?
Yeah.
Luckily, like Wooly and I, we've kind of been doing this so long, like you said, Wooly, is like you're accustomed to this lifestyle. This is your norm. And you, if you felt we're having like, let's just say you had like 2 so shit years that you thought S3 is going to tank. It's not going to provide your family and you with your livelihood cannot continue with this. You're going to pursue something that has interests or like a workplace style that is suitable for the way you want to work. You're not going to sacrifice that even if you have to abandon this shit because you're set in that way. If you get stuck in a job that you hate and you end up with all this responsibility, and no disrespect to those guys, because people who do have all those responsibilities and are willing to handle those responsibilities, I mean, that's pretty much life, you know? So, but I see where people would get stuck because they acquire more and more responsibility, and next thing you know, that solid paycheck, that health insurance, those things are important. And the older you get, the more you need health insurance, the more you need those extra things. Like me right now, thank goodness my wife's a teacher because I wouldn't have insurance. Gripper Oil can't afford insurance. Like, you know, so luckily our spouses are in a position where, you know, that helps the family. And that's kind of just like, you know, once you have multiple people, you're sharing your finances, you're also sharing your debts, your expenses. You know, your kids are basically not contributing in any way at all and consuming more of your time. So like, not only do you have less time, you know, less money, less food, or require more of those, but you also have less time because you need to spend it with that person who's dependent on you. So so yeah, man, make those decisions while you're young. Anybody who listens to this, you know, go for those goals while you're young and push hard because it's not easy. That's why everyone doesn't work a job like that. You know, it's not easy. It is easy to walk in somewhere and do the hours that they tell you to do. When you run your own business, you have to determine, am I doing a 14-hour day today? Or a 10-hour day today? Because normally the 8-hour day is not going to cut it. It's going to keep me just as behind as I was yesterday, you know? So if you start a lawn business at 18, you and 2 buddies, and you pick up 6 clients, you've got 1 per day, that's not going to feed all 3 of you. You got to stop after the job of the day. You've got to go find more clients. But if you don't, then that business isn't going to exist after a while. And you guys probably won't be friends anymore either. So
True.
But yeah, man, that's very true. And the money will be good in places, but you know, if you hate going there, then try and find money somewhere else.
Like Wooly said, like if you're miserable going to work, you know, that $80,000 truck isn't going to make it any better. You're still going to hate being in it on the way to that job. So, you know, but
it'll make you sick whenever you're falling behind on payments too. Like, you know, that's that whole keeping up with the Joneses? Like, is that the phrase? Keeping up with the
so.
Yeah.
Joneses,
like keeping up with, trying to keep up socially or economically with the people around you.
Well, Atlanta's bad about that, man. Atlanta is a city of consumption. You know what I mean? It's a city where everybody's sitting in traffic looking over at what kind of car the other person's sitting in. It's a city of black and gray, dumbass luxury sports cars. And and crossovers, and it's
Wooly
just like,
hates crossovers, apparently.
dude, I
Yeah.
hate black cars with chrome grills, and they all look the same, and they're all got paddle shifters, and
They're all like
that's Atlanta.
monotone,
All
decent
I'm
That's
hearing
Atlanta
is
colors.
where,
Mercedes.
yes, Atlanta is a city where a mod is your window tint, and you sit in traffic in your Mercedes or your Q, whatever the hell Infinity's calling it now, and that's, yeah,
Yeah,
not for
but
me.
it's like, those are nice cars, and I'm not gonna say that I wouldn't drive one or have one. It's not really my personal interest, and they're far outside of my budget that I don't even have any interest in them. But you know, that's just like, don't put yourself in a hole. And I've done that. I'm guilty of that. Like, I've chased things that were outside of my budget or that friends had, even subconsciously. You don't even realize you do it. That's another thing. I've had friends who have solid jobs and they don't hate them. So don't take this also as, anybody who's, younger, or we keep saying younger, but like, it could just be somebody who's like, man, I'm fucking sick of this job. I like hearing what these guys have to say. Don't chase some business that you have to create. Maybe join forces with somebody else that
Right.
already has a good idea, needs structure. Or maybe just go find another job in your industry or that your profession or your skill set has already allotted for. And just, you don't have to be stuck with, if you don't like your coworkers, go find somewhere that has better coworkers.
Right.
Because I've had friends who have great day jobs, but then they buy nice stuff, and I find myself being like, well, I play with a lot of money because I have a lot of money coming in and going out, but it's not really my money to spend. So like, I have caught myself being like, oh, I need to get one of those, and I'm pretty bad. I'm an impulse buyer. I like mod stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very easy when you like the mod stuff to be like, oh man, I can make this better. What's another $50?
Magazines is like terrible about that because it takes a lot of money to produce a magazine. So I'm constantly just like, thank you, advertisers. There you go, printer.
Yeah.
Never,
You take that money, you're like, and it's gone.
a couple coins fall out, and that's what we get to keep. Yeah, but
Yep.
like it is like that because every once in a while, if it all hits right, you're like, oh dang, we could. Oh yeah, it's not.
Yeah. You're like, oh no, wait, that's right. The bill hits tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because that's, I think, why bigger companies have so many employees. That's why they have like an accounts department, because people also don't like to hear that. Like, you don't like to work somewhere and get paid $10 an hour and then learn that the job you just did paid out $2,000.
Right.
The job that you worked on, the customer paid $2,000. People as employees don't like to hear that. However, you don't know how much the overhead of that job, really, really profited. The return on the investment. It's like, you as an employee could go work somewhere and get that kind of attitude if you hear that information. But then at the same time, you're not, if you've never worked in management or the accounting at a place, or maybe just been in close proximity with the business owner, you're not probably considering how much the overhead of the company existing is,
Right.
So it's kind of like, that's what's crazy about being a small business. Like you just said, you see all the numbers. You're like, damn, that's a lot of money. and then you're like, no, because it costs a lot of money to do this volume. When you're not printing 5 magazines, it's like you're printing mass amount, and when you pay that bill, it reflects that. So
yes, it does.
That's just another one of those small business kind of things you learn with time. I'm sure at some point you had money in the account and were like, we can buy this. Sounded like when you guys first started, it was like, we're all getting bikes and riding in the basement.
No, yeah, they were absolutely like Salvation Army bikes.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I feel all of that. I have a question. Where did the name Grip Royal come from?
Not really. It's kind of just playing off words, and it's stuck.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I've always thought that was like one of the cooler names in this whole stinking industry. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah. Yep, and the logo is actually designed by Zach Wolf, which was one of the first. That was my first employee for Grip Royal, and he designed that logo. He had gone to school for graphics design and was having a hard time finding a job in graphics design with a 4-year degree, and he was working like just doing more like laborious jobs. And when I started Grip Royal, I was like, man, I need help. I need another person. That was still at my dad's house. Like he was coming to my dad's house to work every day. And he designed that logo, man, and we still use it to this day. And he's like, that's my most successful free work I've ever put out.
Really?
Which,
awesome.
I mean, it wasn't technically free. He had a job for a while. But,
No, that's cool. Like, I mean, I inherited S3, which was originally Speed, Style, and Sound, and I've always been like, But, it's what we inherited. It already had a name, but...
Yeah, and it sticks. It goes, the S3 logo, like, I always like it. I've never been, like, in which I've known the roots of the name, but, like, I've never told somebody about it and then be like, what's that stand for? And people just know the name. It just is that name,
Yeah.
I find myself going back to how I originally heard of Grip Royal because, I mean, obviously, I'm a lot younger. I'm 22. I came up, later, and I came up in the scene, at least the event scene, not like local car stuff. I always did that, but getting interested in bigger events and stuff like that through YouTube and YouTubers. So the first time that I ever heard of Grip Royal was from a dude named Adam LZ, who had his own line of Grip Royal wheels. Now, how did that come in? Because you don't seem like, talking to Scott, he doesn't seem like a very YouTube-y kind of guy. So where does Adam come into the picture?
Ironically, it's from Greg. So Greg worked at Injuku at that time. I think he worked there for like 1 year. I think he was down in Florida for about a year, and I guess LZ, being in Florida, went and did like a shop tour at Injuku, and I think that's like where he bought the wheel. I think that's where he got his first Grip Royal. And I guess he was shooting the shit with Greg, and Greg was like, "Oh yeah, like that's my buddy Scott. He makes those steering wheels." And next thing I know, Greg calls me. Is like, "Hey, I got this guy Adam in here. He's this big YouTuber, real nice guy. We're hooking him up. He's doing an episode in the shop. He just bought a wheel. He wants to make his own edition and sell it." And I'm like, "Oh, anything for you, Greg," thinking it's just one. And I didn't really know who he was. Like, I don't watch YouTube because I'm trying to build a company. And if I'm watching YouTube, it's going to be like to learn stuff like that or something that I'm assembling. It's not. I didn't have the time to like learn about bike tricks and like follow people.
Right.
So it was there's so much information out there. I'm not bashing it or anything. If you're busy, you're busy. And yeah, Greg hit me up and basically connected me with Adam, and Adam loved the wheel. He ran it. We made him some custom ones, and then that was pretty much it, man. I mean, because that guy's business is blossoming and has been since we've been working with him. I don't really communicate with him that much. I mean, he's so active and has such a large staff of his own. So, really nice guy. I've met him a handful of times, hung out with him. He bought plenty of steering wheels from us and resold them, which was super supportive. Like how you learned about us, so many other people did, because Adam liked the wheel he got from us, and we were so easy to work with, and I'm very grateful for that, because he's a businessman.
Yeah,
he really is, and the numbers don't lie. Like, that dude has a bigger following than probably anyone I'm aware of on YouTube. And yeah, it's pretty cut and dry, real simple.
So did you notice a large impact on your company from him starting to run your wheel?
I would say so, absolutely. What was really cool is that he bought his own inventory and resold it. So like anytime you've bought a LZ Grip Royal wheel, you have to buy it from their website, not from us. So that's really helpful for us too, because he basically would place large orders. We're not doing like making them to order and selling them one by one. Like, we'd make a large amount because he was confident in the turnaround time of higher quantity, which even outside of those customers who wanted to support him, I think he has more fans that like wanted that wheel to support him, not so much us. I think they were maybe knew about us, maybe learned about us. But even outside of that, just like the exposure from his episodes, and him kind of like talking about us from time to time, very, very helpful for us, just because, once again, we're such a small company. I had Prakash running media for 1 year, but I had to cut back. It wasn't in the cards for me to grow and have a full-time media guy. So I don't really get to create. I don't create commercials, and which is ironic because I'm supposed to film some stuff tomorrow for a commercial like filler. But like, I'm not in front of the camera. I'm not working in camera. I'm not focusing on marketing in that manner. So it's very helpful to me as a small business owner to have people who are, already doing that are willing to work with us. So it's kind of like, it lifts both parties to work together. And I'm very, very grateful for that from Adam. And then on top of that, what's really cool is now that I'm kind of late to the punch, but like on sim racing, like on Assetto Corsa and stuff, all these dudes have made these cars, and his cars included. And I don't think that so many people that game and drift would be aware of Grip Royal if it wasn't for him specifically. And so when I jumped on Assetto Corsa, I download all these like car packs, which they're fan based. It's not like opening Forza. It's not, all the cars are loaded in the game. These are like fan made packs that you manually add to the game, and you get in the game, and the steering wheels are Grip Royals. Like,
that's dope.
That's crazy.
And
really,
you have a wheel in Hertz car in Forza though, don't you?
Yes. Yeah.
That's so sick.
And so I was playing Forza like religiously, like every day I was putting in a solid 2 hours minimum on Forza. And I've played Forza since Forza 1. I've played it on original Xbox all the way up to the current games.
Yeah.
And when they scanned in all the Hoonigan cars and did that, like, I downloaded the pack right away just because it was Hertz car. I didn't know my wheel was going to be in it, but then I open it up and I play in car and I'm like, oh shit, and then
that's there forever, man.
People are hitting us up and they kind of assume. I had people hit me up like, man, you must have got paid a lot of money to have that in there. I'm like, no, not really. They just scanned his car in, and that's where like the big business kind of stuff comes out versus being a small company. I get to make these decisions from the hip. I just shoot from the hip, give it my gut instinct, and run with it. And maybe that's really bad for business, as Willie said. Maybe I'm not good at making business decisions. Maybe it's great, Maybe I could have gotten paid a lot. Maybe they would have just dropped all our logos from the wheel if I tried to pursue it legally, and that's kind of like the thing. Like, I was like, meh, fuck it. I'm not worried about it because I play Forza and this shit is dope,
Yeah.
So for me, it was like we spoke on earlier, and Wooly said, you gotta give yourself those victories,
Yeah.
And for me, that was like, I had no clue that was going to happen. I didn't see anything from it except exposure. But for me, I looked at my wife when it happened, and I was like, my brand is in a video game that I play, and it is embedded for like the rest of time. You know?
Yeah, it's there forever.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah,
Dude, I would be in tears. Like, that's so cool.
it was very cool. And then once again, like, I'm late to the punch, but I open Assetto, I download all these cars, which was being like a first time PC gamer. Like, it took me a while to kind of figure things out, and it was a lot of setup compared to console gaming, and I was like ripping my hair out with aggravation. And then I load a car, and it's got a damn grip royal steering wheel in it, and I was like, I know these are fan-made cars. There's no one. I'm not going to legally pursue someone because they use my logo. I do have it trademarked though, so don't try and use it. But no, like, for real, that's just cool. It's a cool factor, and I play this game. And how fucking cool is it for me to go bust my ass all day and then to come home and fire this thing up and see someone thought my shit was cool. You know?
Yeah.
Someone was like, Grip Royal is cool. We got to make sure we take the extra time to make it look like a Grip Royal will. And
because it's not like just like
designers.
Photoshop. Yeah, it's not like Photoshop or anything like that. This is like a simulation video game that they have gone through the effort of designing your wheel into. Like, it's so crazy.
It's awesome.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. I'm actually sitting in my sim like rig right now, so that I didn't wake up my niece who lives with us. And it's cool. Like, I have an actual Grip Royal wheel on my setup, and then on the game is the same damn thing.
That's dope, man.
Awesome.
It's just too cool, man. And it makes me it just all comes full circle. Once again, it's just a victory. Like, it's a reason to be excited about what I do, because somewhere some dude who's really good at 3D modeling, for video games, was messing around probably up for a week, and he was like, took the time to put that in there, and he obviously liked Grip Royal enough to include it in his artwork. I thought that was pretty cool, so I like that.
I like that, Jen.
I like that.
Yeah. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Well,
dude, I mean, and they're looking more wild every day. I mean, mad respect to you, homie. You like reinvent this every single day. When I saw you like started getting to the etching stuff, I've seen some of these etching like wheels. I've seen some of the trophy wheels that you make. Yeah. They get wild, man. I mean, and I don't see anything else like it. So mad crazy respect to you, dude.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. I think being a full circle that you just mentioned, way before S3, like I had just bought a Miata, and I bought a Grip Royal wheel for it. I was like fresh out of high school. And like I was like, I'm gonna make a YouTube channel and I'm gonna be huge because my Miata is awesome. And I did a Grip Royal wheel install like video, and in the video, I unbox it, and I think it's still on YouTube. You could actually go watch it if you wanted. Please don't. It's really cringy. But I'm like, this is a really awesome product. I hope one day I could even have my own Grip Royal wheel. And then fast forward years later, not only do we have our custom S3 wheel that's in my S13, but I'm sitting on a podcast with the founder of Grip Royal. It's crazy how life works that way,
Yeah.
I've had one, before the Jeep that I just bought, I've had one car all my life, and it's got my first ever Grip Royal, the wood with gloss with the silver. And I've taken that thing in my office at my first office job. I've got this this guitar holder or guitar hanger.
Yeah.
Mounted that in my office, and every time I'd park it, I'd take my wheel off and hang it in my office. And the looks I would get from
Yeah,
people.
walking down the hallway with the steering wheel in your hand.
Exactly. And I still got, and I've had it forever. It's got like little chips in it, but like that wheel is my heart and soul. I mean, now that I drive the Jeep more, I still have the Grip Royal wheel in my Jeep, and I take it up.
Really?
Yeah. Well, not like on my Jeep. I have it inside my Jeep just
You're
because.
just like, I keep it in the back. It's good to keep around.
Yeah,
It's sentimental.
listen, that's my little pride and joy that I've had for a long time. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, man, mad respect.
Well,
Cool.
anyways, guys, I think we've been going like pushing like an hour 40.
Yeah.
But it's been a great
Well,
conversation.
it's cool. The first 25 minutes don't count. It's all music.
That's
It's
true.
like
That's true.
Hey,
Podcast.
if you're if you're one of the 3 people that besides my parents or all of our parents listening to this, let us know if you actually like the music talk, because I mean I enjoyed it. But anyways, thank you, Scott, for taking the time to join us this late at night. It means a lot to us. We love Grip Royal, but once again, we are S3 Magazine. He is Scott. You can find him on Instagram at, what is it, Scott_Grip Royal or
Grip Royal _Scott. But just go to at Grip Royal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't
Grip
at
Royal
me,
on
bro.
Instagram. What's your website?
GripRoyal.com.
GripRoyal.com.
That's it.
S3mag.com for us. Check us all out. Thank you guys for joining us. We will see you next time.
Scott, appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, guys.